Once upon a time, in a small village called Okeri, where little huts stood among wide green fields, the villagers wore bright wrappers and beads as they laughed and talked, while children ran about playfully. The women cook over firewood in large clay pots, with smoke curling into the air. In this village lived a young woman named Amina. Amina was born blind. She could not see the world with her eyes. Her two sisters were very beautiful. Everyone admired them. Many young men wanted to marry them, and their father was proud of them. But Amina was treated badly. People saw her as a burden, as if she brought shame to the family. Her mother was the only one who loved her, but she died when Amina was only 5 years old. From that day, her father became cruel. He never called her by her name again. Instead, he would say, "that thing." He pushed her away whenever visitors came. He did not let her sit at the family table. He looked at her blind eyes and said she was cursed. Years passed, and Amina lived alone in her small corner, reading her old Braille books and whispering to herself. She dreamed of a better life, though she knew it would never happen. But when she turned 21, her father made a decision that would shatter what little peace she had left. One morning, he entered her small room without warning. Amina was sitting cross-legged, her fingers tracing the raised dots of an old, worn-out Braille page. Without a word, he dropped a folded piece of fabric into her lap. "You're getting married tomorrow," he said flatly. Amina froze. Her heart stumbled in her chest. Married? The word made no sense in her world. Married to whom? Her father's voice was as hard as stone. "He's a beggar from the mosque. You're blind, he's poor. A good match for you."
Her lips trembled, but no words came. She wanted to scream, to cry out, to ask why, but her voice abandoned her. Her father never gave her choices. This, too, was forced upon her. The very next day, the marriage was arranged. It was a small, rushed ceremony, held with no joy, no music, no celebration. Amina did not see the man's face. Of course, she never could. And no one dared to describe him to her. Her father shoved her toward him, saying nothing more than, "Take his arm." She obeyed, her body moving like a ghost, her spirit numb. Around her, whispers and mocking laughter filled the air. "The blind girl and the beggar," the villagers sneered behind their hands. "What a pair!" When the ceremony was over, her father thrust a small bag of clothes into her hands and pushed her toward the man once more. "She's your problem now," he said coldly. And without even a backward glance, he walked away. Her new husband's name was Kareem. He said nothing as he took her hand gently and began to lead her away. Their steps were slow, quiet, heavy with silence. They walked for a long time until, at last, they reached the edge of the village. There stood a small, broken-down hut made of mud, its roof patched with palm leaves. It smelled of smoke and damp earth. Kareem stopped before it and spoke for the first time. His voice was gentle, kind. "It's not much," he said softly, "but you'll be safe here." Amina lowered herself onto an old mat inside the hut, her heart sinking. Tears pressed at the corners of her blank eyes, but she held them back. This was her life now, a blind bride married to a beggar, living in a hut built of mud and hope. But something strange happened that very first night. Kareem brewed tea with careful, gentle hands. He placed the cup in hers with such tenderness she almost dropped it in surprise. He laid his own coat over her shoulders to keep her warm. He stretched out near the door, not beside her, but like a guard dog keeping watch, as though she were a queen. And then, softly, he began to ask her questions no one had ever asked before. "What stories do you like, Amina? What dreams do you carry in your heart? What food makes you smile?" No one in her entire life had cared to know these things. Days turned into weeks. Each morning, Kareem would lead her to the river. As she touched the cool water, he described the world to her. He painted pictures with words, the golden sun rising over the horizon, the bright green leaves dancing in the breeze, the red birds darting through the sky like sparks of fire. As she washed clothes, he sang to her songs of old tales, of stars in distant lands.
At night, he told her stories of kingdoms far away, of skies full of endless stars. And slowly, something inside Amina that had been dead for so long began to stir again. She laughed, she smiled, she felt alive. And somewhere in that strange little hut, she fell in love. One quiet afternoon, as Kareem sat beside her weaving a mat, Amina reached for his hand. Her fingers trembled slightly as they touched his. She lifted her blank eyes toward him and asked softly, "Were you always a beggar?" Kareem's hand stilled. For a long time, silence hung between them. The air grew heavy. Finally, his voice came, low and heavy with memory. "No, Amina, I was not always a beggar. Once, I was the son of a wealthy merchant. I had everything: gold, fine clothes, respect. But pride blinded me in ways your eyes never did." Amina's lips parted in surprise. She listened intently, her heart racing. "I mocked the poor," Kareem confessed. "I turned away the hungry. I laughed at beggars in the street, until one night, an old wanderer came to our house asking for food. I spat at his feet. I did not know he was no ordinary man, but a mystic in disguise. He cursed me. He stripped me of everything and cast me out, saying I would roam as a beggar until someone loved me, not for riches, not for looks, but for my soul." His voice broke as he looked at her. "And then I met you." That night, as Amina lay awake on her mat, her heart throbbed with emotions too big to hold. All her life, she had believed herself cursed. Yet perhaps it was not she who was cursed, but he who had been tested. And perhaps her blindness was not a punishment, but a gift that allowed her to see what truly mattered. One evening, as the sun set in gold and purple, Amina and Kareem sat outside their hut. He was describing the stars when suddenly the air grew still. The wind shifted. A deep voice rolled through the silence, both thunderous and soft. "You have been tested." Amina gasped and clutched Kareem's hand. Before her sightless eyes, the impossible unfolded. Kareem's ragged robes shimmered and transformed into garments of silk and gold. His posture straightened, his face glowed, and the beggar she had married stood now as a prince once more. "And you, Amina, who were despised by your own family, your heart is pure. Your love has broken the curse." Suddenly, warmth flooded her eyes. For the first time in her life, light burst through the darkness. Colors bloomed before her. She saw the world, the golden hut, the trees swaying, the prince kneeling before her. Her tears fell freely. The first face her new eyes beheld was Kareem's. Word spread quickly in the village. The same people who had once laughed now watched in silence as Amina and Kareem walked hand in hand, clothed in splendor. Her father stumbled from his house, his mouth open in shock. For the first time, Amina looked directly at him with her clear eyes. "She called me cursed, but the only curse was the blindness of your heart." Her father dropped to his knees, weeping, but Amina only turned away. Some wounds could never be mended. Kareem returned to his kingdom, and Amina became his queen. She ruled not with vanity, but with compassion. She never forgot the days in the hut, the songs by the river, or the taste of tea given with love. And every night she looked at the stars, truly looked, and whispered, "I see you now." And so the tale was told for generations of the blind girl who saw without eyes and the beggar who was truly a prince.